Hey, all, Andy here, helping you build a career you love. Thursday, if you're here with me live, get in the chat, say hi. Got a great one in store for you today on what I consider to be the 5 great traits that employers love at all times, but especially now. What is it that you can do? How is it that you can show that you have these particular traits, skill sets, experiences, and everything related to it to, number one, be secure in your position, become that employee that's absolutely irreplaceable, or if you're job searching, how do you understand how to apply and advertise that you have these skill sets and traits. It's going to be a fun one, and the first part of today's talk is going to be about every few months or so, I like to give you my analysis of the trends in the employment market. I want to start with that. So we got a little econ lesson that I'm going to do very quickly for metrics, statistics, and things that you can follow in the market to know more about where the employment market is going and how it might affect you. And because I analyze this information every month, I thought it was about time to have a talk about how do you make sure that you are building the right skills and making sure that your employer knows these things about you, because I do think that we're going to be in for some bumpy, a little bit of a bumpy ride. Nothing. I don't want, this isn't a catastrophic talk or anything like that. It's about making you aware of how to be able to detect what's happening around you, how it might affect you, and what you should do about it. So get in the chat, say hi. Let me say hey to everybody. I think I saw my mom was in early. And so, Mom, great to see you. Love you. And Gammon Drew, what's up from Hotlanta? Alex, my boot camper, and Lisa, my boot camper, and Adam Starr from the other side of the pound, and Danielle, love that name. Jay, Kristen, Saul's back in the game. Cherry, and everybody else. So great to have you. I try to make these talks as fun as possible. So let's talk. You might not get a lot of this on a lot of career coaching talks, but that's why I like to bring it to you on my channel. So I think most of you, unless you've been living in a bubble for the last few years, you recognize that prices are going up. And I'm sure you feel it in your pocketbook as you go to the gas station and the grocery store, and everything that you buy seems to cost more. And that's true. Inflation, especially in the US, has been very, very high for a while. And as inflation goes up, prices go up, corporate profits generally go up, right? They're charging more and they're squeezing more margin. They are actually paying employees more. A lot of you have been getting big pay raises. I know a bunch of you are out of work. I know some of you are in jobs you don't love. I know some of you are in careers you don't love. And some of you are in jobs that are going just well, and you love to show up at my live shows because you like my energy and my cheery self. All right, so but I want to really show you what's happening. And so I'm going to show you some of the information that I look at to try to determine where the market is going, what to share with you, and how to best position you. And in this first site that I'm going to show you here, this is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's the US's site for a lot of things labor related, but it also has information and other factors and indices and things of that nature. And as a matter of fact, the page you're looking at around the Consumer Price Index, normally when I look for the Consumer Price Index, I go to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. It's BEA.gov. It's a government site that talks all things economics related, of which you would find gross domestic product, price indices, all things related to any kind of economic analysis that we do. But the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics happens to have some information related to the inflation information. And so since I'm showing you most of the things on this site, I figured I would pull this up and let you know, just as I've highlighted here, in the last month, this number was released. Actually, if you're here with me live on March 16th when we're doing this number was released on Tuesday, just the other day on March 14th. And it shows that in February, prices have increased. Okay, so that's probably not a surprise to anybody, and that year over year, inflation is up 6%. Now, that is quite a lot, and so last February of 2022, the prices now are 6% higher than they were last February. But in January, the number was 6.4% or 6.5% or so. So prices have increased over the year. Prices have increased since the last month. Now, we're in an inflationary period where prices are going up, except what our Fed tries to do is they try to slow down the rate at which prices are increasing. We call that disinflation, meaning last month, year over year, prices were increasing at 6.5%. Now they're still increasing, but at a lower rate. So it's called disinflation. And the other thing that I look at in terms of inflation and its relationship with the employment statistics, because these go hand in hand. I've showed you this before in some other shows, but there's a survey out there called the JOLTS report. It's job openings and labor turnover. And you can see right here on the page that the P stands for preliminary. So about 2 months after the month closes, they usually confirm the actual number. But as of right now, the estimate is nearly 11 million open jobs in the United States. These are publicized, open, trackable, advertised positions that the government can get their hands on. These are not all the open positions in the world. Remember, this is a fraction thereof. But for trends and illustrative purposes, this suits us just fine. So if you want to look at what that actually looks like, there's a little graph icon that you can click. And this is the trend of what's been happening over the last 10 years. And you can see this big dip here. That was COVID, right? So this is like Q1, Q2, 2020. So that's probably not a surprise. But if you look down, here's that 10.8 million number. And if you look last year at all of 2020, these numbers were hovering around the high 10s, 11s, and 12 million job openings. And I've talked to you a couple or three times last year about where we were at any moment in time. But effectively speaking, there's nearly 11 million open jobs. Now, why does that matter? Well, this other table I want to show you is there's an employment status. This shows me basically breakdown by age group, by sex, what the employment rates are for some demographics, only broken down by sex and age, so male or female and age. And if you look at this unemployed line right here, you'll see there's 5.9, so almost 6 million unemployed people. These are people who are making unemployment claims. And right below that number is the overall aggregated unemployment rate, which is 3.6%. Okay, you might hear these numbers, you might read articles in CNBC or Yahoo or Finance or wherever you get, or Wall Street Journal, wherever you get your news. But basically, you're looking at about half as many people unemployed as there are advertised jobs in the U.S., which means employers are hiring, right? They're still hiring, as you're probably hearing from a lot of your friends if this is not happening to you. But and people are getting pay raises still, and all this stuff sounds pretty good. Except that when you look at that 3.6% number, and just so you know from an economical standpoint, in the employment market, when we have 3% unemployment, 3% is generally considered the zero line. So basically, when there's 3% unemployment, that's effectively saying that everybody who wants a job has a job, and it takes about 3% in and out each month to get people in and out of their jobs, generally speaking. Now, I understand your situation may vary from what I just said, but roll with me on this. This is really just for illustrative purposes. Okay, so that's where we are. So then if you take a closer look, I look by age and educational attainment. We can also take a look here. And if you scroll on down, I know a lot of people in my community, not everybody has a bachelor's degree, but if you look at the rate of unemployment, it's very, very low if you're over 25 years old and you have a bachelor's degree. So I look at that trend. Then I start to look at other trends by ethnicity. There's all kinds of stuff in here. You could go nuts. You can break this down by management position, whether you're Asian, Latino, white, any kind of Hispanic, African American, whatever it is, you could go nuts. And if you want more information on the economic stuff, this is the BEA.gov site is really great. There's a lot of information that you can grab there. So why am I sharing that with you? Because I also study not just what's happening at the moment, but I look at the last decades, I look at the last 50 years, I look at the last 100 years. I want to know what happens, cause and effect, when we are trying to do certain things. The last 10 times, 10, this is a historical number. The last 10 times we were in the predicament that we're in now, where we were trying to get inflation down through disinflation tactics, right? The Fed is trying to ease, raising interest rates to pull back the increase in prices at a slower rate, meaning we don't want to go into de-inflation where prices are going down, right? We're slowing the rate at which prices are rising. They generally rise over time. The last 10 times we've tried to pull back at each 2% of a pullback number. Every 2% drop in price increases results in a 3.6% increase in unemployment. So if you take the 6% number that I just showed you that was reported for February 2023, depending on when you're watching this, if you pulled back those 4 points and to try to get us back to 2% price increase, which is good stuff, right, where we want to be, that would be another 7.2% increase in unemployment. So you can stack that on top of the 3.6, and now you're up near 11% unemployment at aggregate. Now, different demographics are affected. They're affected differently. Educational attainments are affected differently. The industry you're in, the position you hold, and all that other stuff is going to contribute to your unique situation. But in general, that's the trend in the market and where we're going. Okay, who's following me? I bet you didn't imagine, you were going to get this Econ 101 class. But so when I look at this kind of stuff, I think about what information can I give to my community to kind of help them position themselves as they're job searching or developing their careers, or how do they enjoy their jobs more. And so that's what led me to want to talk to you about, kind of what are the tools, the traits that a great employee has? What are employers going to pay more for? Who are the employers going to keep should they need to let somebody go? And maybe some of the myths that you think about what employers really value. And that's what I want to talk about today. So let's get into, I want to get into the 5 traits that I want you to really focus on as we undoubtedly, where unemployment is going to increase. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go like this. I'm just saying that in order to get back in balance, you don't get anything for free. So if the prices are going to come down, what also is going to come down? Profit margins are going to come down. What happens when profit margins come down? Right? Employers don't hire at the rate they hire, or they let people go because they got to decrease costs. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind. All right, so when I think about the person that I value as an employer, as a business owner, as a recruiter, and what I see as a career coach, these are the 5 things, and here's what they are and what I want you to do about them. The number 1, I want to talk about skill set. Okay? Now, I don't want to just talk about I want you to have skills. That's kind of a level 0, right? We want you to be able to do your job. But what I think employers value more is the individual who has a great range of skills related to their job. So what do I mean? Well, I don't want you to just be good at your job. I want you to become great at all the skills related to your job. So what does that mean? Well, if you are a project manager of any kind, IT, construction, makes no difference, re-engineering, there's the person who knows how to run the project, and I can run the project and that's my job. Except there are many skill sets that go into making a great project manager, right? I need to understand business. I need to understand issues, risk management. I need to know organization. I need to know how to staff, how to load the plans, how to watch the plan, how to interact with my customers, whether they're internal or external, right? Partnerships. There's many facets to running a project. All of those skill sets, the employer values the person who's great at all of those things, not just running the project, right? The salesperson who doesn't just know how to sell the widget, right, but understands human psychology, consultative sales, organization, is diligent in following through, is diligent in tracking, in analyzing, in making adjustments, and so on. So you want to make sure that from a range standpoint that you are actually looking at what all those skills are and how it relates to what it is that you're doing. And if you're not sure what I mean here, I don't know if you've read the Hiring Prophecies, my gold award winning hiring book, but I talk about capabilities and all the transcendent skills that an employee should have and that an employer should evaluate and teach and pay for and have some faith and trust in knowing that a person with those capabilities will be great at doing their job regardless of how it changes. They will be able to transcend that. And so when you look into that, I want you to actions. What do I want you to do? I want you to try to identify first what those additional capabilities are. So, to be a great chef, you need to be organized. You need to have stamina. You need to be creative. You need to be whatever. You can Google these things. You can also research by talking to people who currently do that job. I would recommend, because they're going to know what's important based on the latest trends, based on the current operating environment. Somebody who did it 10 years ago or 20 years ago might not be as fresh. They might not be as knowledgeable on the trends. There are other things that in skill sets that get pulled into as we evolve. In our positions. So I would definitely identify them and research them to figure out what those are, and then follow your favorite coaches, mentors, authors, bloggers, speakers, whoever it is that can help you teach you the individual skill sets. So what do I mean? Well, if you're a salesperson, you can follow people who can teach you how to sell, but I'd also want you to follow people who will teach you about human psychology. I will also want you to follow people who will teach you about negotiation. I will also want you to follow people, right? So you want to break it down. I refer to kind of piecing together all these mentors as creating your own Franken mentor. But it's something that I think all of us should have. I certainly have it for my business, and I had more kind of body parts to my Franken mentor when I was starting out and earlier in my transition to this form of my business. And then you're going to need to spend some time building the skills. Now, I have something for you that Kara has already dropped into the chat, which is free, but I have a skill building roadmap. It's part of my leadership coaching program. It's a 35-page booklet. You could have it for free, where I break down a lot of the capabilities I'm talking about. And these capabilities here will be more visible to you, more apparent to you, what skill sets you need to build based on who you are and at what level you are in your career and what level of proficiency you are. And the other thing that it does is it will give you an inventory of the skills that you should consider. But I also have a development plan in there, whether you're in the premium program or whether you're a general member just following me here free on YouTube. I have a 9 or 10 step approach to putting your plan together, irrespective of which universe you're in. So anyway, these are some actions that I want you to consider, but I want you to consider the range of skill sets. That's really, really important. The second thing that I want you to think about is your level of uniqueness. And unique, this is not just a generic term here. I want to give you my definition of what I think makes a unique person. Okay, there's basically 6 things. There's your experience, and we'll chew on this in a minute. And then there's the 5 Itys. There's 4 abilities, but there's an ality in there, so I couldn't make it abilities, so they're Itys. And I'll tell you what those are in a second. There's 5 of those. And what do I mean by experience? Well, when you think about experience, there's the experience you have in what you do in your job and how much experience you have doing something. And then there's the combination of the layers that contribute to your experience. And each layer that you have of experience that's a unique layer, and I'll give you examples of what I mean here in a minute, makes you more and more unique the more layers you have. Okay? So I want you to think about layers. So what do I mean by layers? All right, first thing is, I know how to run IT projects. That's a layer. You're a technologist or you're a project manager who runs technology projects. I'm an IT manager who knows how to run projects in the healthcare industry. That's another layer. Okay, it's another element. I'm an IT manager who knows how to run healthcare projects for customer-centric solutions. Okay, now you have subject matter expertise. That's another layer. Every time you add a layer, you shrink the pool of other people who can do what you do. So I'm an IT project manager for healthcare organizations with customer-centric solutions with this particular software product or these particular suite of software products for these project sizes. Every time you add a layer, you're adding something more unique to you. The more generic you are, the less unique you are, and the more generic in the description of who you are and what you do, the less unique you become in their eyes, even if you're a unicorn. Okay, so when you say, well, I'm a person who increases revenue and decreases profits, you and about 1 billion other people. Well, who do you do that for? What's your experience in? Where's your primary area of expertise? So your experience has to do with your layers of uniqueness, and your layers of uniqueness can be considered in a number of different fashions. So when I look at me, for example, and what I present to you, well, I'm a career coach. It's a lot of career coaches. I have an online coaching platform. So too do a lot of others. I've coached anybody from executive levels to junior people. A lot of other people do that, right? And then you start adding in, well, how do I do that? Okay, so, well, I have nearly 2 decades of operational experience as a consultant. I've seen over 150 companies at that time. That was as a consultant. So, okay, now I've just narrowed the field, right, to somebody who has great experience. And I served as an executive recruiter since 2004. Where I consulted to another 200 companies, right? And I saw a lot more. So now you're up to 350. You're up to multiple professions and multiple vantage points. And then I've been a career coach where I've coached people in over 200 countries, every continent, right? Each time I add books I've written, all the other stuff that I do, each time I do that, I keep shrinking your ability to find anybody else like me. And so when you're looking for your layers, each element that creates an additional layer to your experience that you bring to bear makes you more unique than the other people in your company or outside your company. So what a lot of people do, the mistake that they make is they think, oh, well, if I give them too many layers to me, that's going to shrink my possibilities. Where I would say to you, no, the world is abundant. The world needs a lot of IT project managers in healthcare for customer-centric solutions for particular types of technology projects that know how to manage large projects, right? So the more layers you can add, the more valuable you become, the more unique you become, the more employers are willing to pay because why? It's harder to find the 5-tool player, so to speak, right? Who's with me so far, right? So what most of you do is you say, well, I don't want to say that I'm a one of these because that's going to narrow. No, that's the wrong mindset, right? It makes you more valuable. It's your job to find the opportunities that are out there. Okay, so that's number 2A. Now, I want you to think about this combination. You've added your layers, and then what else makes somebody unique? Now, I kind of chuckled as I thought long and hard about this card that I wrote out for you. And I really thought about, as I was looking at people I worked with, looking at people I coached, just through my life, through the 34 years I've been working, and these are the five Itys that I think are so uncommon that I had to bring them forward to you today. All right, so I hope you can see this. There's availability. What's the expression? One of the greatest abilities is availability. I show up, I see you every Thursday, right? Even more often than that for a lot of you, right? So being available. Are you available for your employer? Are you going to be there? And then the second one, reliability. Can I count on you at 100%? Do you take accountability? Like, I own it, that's mine, I got it. If I screw it up, if it doesn't go well, even though I have 5 other people helping me, it's on me. Do you know how rare that is? That's rare. I would say less than 2% of people know how to take accountability. And then now we're really getting into your level of uniqueness. Are you relatable? Okay, you might not think this is a big deal, but of all these things on this card, maybe aside from the last one, your relatability is what makes you likable and people get you. Do people get you? Right? Can you relate to people in terms that registers with them? Being empathetic is one thing, that's your receipt in relatability. But do they get you? Or are you living up in the clouds? Right, kind of thing. So relatability is really key. And the way in which you share you with someone else makes you unique. That I can share stories with you about my life that will hit home for any of you. If I could sit down with each one of you, no matter where you are or from whatever walk of life you come from, I can find something that I can share with you that's relatable. No, I haven't lived in your shoes or maybe not your country or had some of the exact same struggles, but I will find something that pulls us together. Are you relatable? And then your personality. Do you let it shine? Are you you? Be you? Right kind of thing. Or do you suppress that because you're in the wrong cultural environment for yourself? Your personality, your natural waking state, your default settings. I'm not talking about you having to accommodate and think about everything you're going to say before you say it because you're worried about how it's going to come out. If you're in any kind of relationship like that, get out. Okay? That's work, friends, spouse, boyfriend, partner, girlfriend, whatever. If you cannot be you, get out, right? But I'm talking about the personality in terms of being in. Let all the combination of all of this will make you a rare person. Who's following with me? Who's following with me? I mean, relatability is a big deal. All right, so what are some of the things you can do? Well, from an experience standpoint, from this one here, I want you to think about what are your layers? Experience. What are your layers? Okay? So what are the things that make you unique? And add them up. Write them out. Literally write them out. I don't want you to think about, oh, duh, well, everybody should know customer service, whatever. No. All those things make you unique. The intersection between what you know and what somebody else knows is microscopic. You think it's a canyon, right? Like it's full of stuff. But it is a dot. It is super small. So I want you to make sure that you're pulling that out from an experience standpoint and you're making sure that you are making that visible. Then from a self-awareness standpoint, ask yourself, go through the five Itys and ask yourself, am I this? Am I truly being this? Right? Am I being accountable? Am I being relatable? Am I letting my personality show? Am I available? Am I reliable? Right? And then for those of you who are in my leadership coaching program or job search coaching program, you have a lesson in there called The Power of Your Personal Story. I give you the construct, the lesson, the formula, the points, and everything to find your defining moments, your stories that will make you relatable to anybody in any walk of life, and how to share the story or micro stories or whatever they are with others. So if you are in either of the two premium programs, you have the power of your personal story. You can go in there and watch it. All right. Now, number 3, you could be all those things. You can have all the experience. You can be totally lovable, right? You could be all that stuff. But if you ain't producing, cranking it out, are you productive? So I need you to be available. I need you to be reliable, but I need you to actually pump it out. Okay? So when I think about cranking outputs, I'm talking about living, breathing outputs that people can use. It could be your customer can use it. It could be your teammate can use it. It could be your boss using it. It could be your management team using it. It could be your internal customer, whatever it is. And the way my mind works is I believe that this world rewards, not meaning just financially. I'm talking about This world values people who create stuff. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be breathing. And so the way I think is in terms of MVPs, minimum viable prototypes or minimum viable products. I understand you could dream up the world with all this elegance and all this luxuries and all these super nice to haves. But the most important thing to cranking outputs is to crank the output. To get it minimum and viable. Every single Thursday, I show up. I could talk to you all day and never stop. 8 hours I could talk without stopping. And I could give you all the stuff I want to related to all this stuff I'm talking about, but I have to create a minimum viable product that says, this is a minimum viable talk. There's a minimum viable video series. There's a minimum viable workshop. There's a minimum viable training product or whatever. And then what you do is to help you with creating minimum viable products, you focus on deadlines and you vary scope. What is the mistake that people who never get things done, what do? What do they vary? They vary the deadline. They don't vary the scope. A lot of times they increase the scope. Yeah, they vary it in the wrong direction. And what you from a mindset standpoint, on Thursday, I'm showing up and I'm giving a talk. Whatever I got, I'm going with. Bang. On March 27th, I start a productivity free mini camp. Whatever we got, bang, that's going. Right kind of thing. Designed to cost. And then what? And then iterate. Okay? So I want you to think in these terms. And the beauty is, if you are here with me live, and you might be watching this on a recording, but if you're here with me live and it's before March 27th, Monday, March 27th, I'm running a free productivity mini camp. It's a 5-part program, let's say. Kara can drop the link in the chat because you all who are here with me live are going to be the first ones who get to sign up for this. And the way it works is on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, March 27th, March 28th, and 29th, I'm going to send you an email with an email lesson and a video. The video is about 20 minutes. It's a recorded video that I'm going to send you to a watch page where you will be able to watch me teach on planning your weeks, running your days, and how to run projects that produce results. So you're going to learn the MVP formula and all that good stuff. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then on Thursday at 11 a.m. on my YouTube channel, the 30th, March 30th, I have a live premiere with a new video on my habits and systems to be more productive. And then immediately following that, that's about a 40-minute video. Immediately following that, we're going to go into a live recap show where I answer your productivity questions. It's all free. And even if you have my full-blown productivity challenge, this is a great, great little program with some new teaching, and it'll be a wonderful refresher too. So a lot of this stuff I'm going to help you with in a week or so. Okay, number 4. How do you respond to failure? This is a big deal. Why? We're always looking to fail forward. We're always looking to work toward tomorrow's problems, right? And you are working toward failures that you can fix. This is it. This is our whole life. Our entire life, work life, is nothing more than solving new problems. When we solve problems, oftentimes what? We make mistakes. We try things that maybe they worked sorta, but we can make them better, or maybe they just failed and then we learned something. How you respond to failure is a tremendous amount to do with whether the employer is going to want to keep you. If you are not failing, you are not trying, you are not growing, and you are not advancing them. Remember this, there is no two ways about it. What I say, I speak the truth, right? So on this, how do you fail? And for those of you who are not confident, I wrote this out because I as I was preparing the talk, I said this out loud, and then I wrote it down because I didn't want to muck up how exactly I shared this with you, and I wanted it to resonate. Your confidence has more to do with your ability to embrace failure than it does your enjoyment of success. I need you to burn this in your brain, because if you are not confident, it isn't about how you will feel after you have some successes. It's about when you get to the point where you know you tripped. How do you respond to that? I crave the attempt, which I know I'm going to muck up, right? And then what? I fail faster, I learn faster, I fix it faster, and I'm on my way. I'm on my 10th iteration. You're still sitting behind version 0, right? The person who creates MVPs that keeps moving creates something where they could have created this, but they created this so that they can get it living and breathing, get feedback, and make it actually better based on real live input and immediate observable feedback. So think about how your mindset related to confidence. Who's tracking with me, right? If you are not falling down, you ain't living. I mean, you're not. And you're probably not a productive employee. You're probably just cranking day in and day out. And what I'm about to say next, number 5, this number 5 is probably one of the biggest deals that I don't think people really understand. But I'm going to use a couple or 3 examples to really drive this one home. You know, I used to run these large IT projects, and in these IT projects, Kara, I just want to make sure you're with me. You're awfully silent. I hope you're in the right channel. Kara, do me a favor. Go and just let me know you're here with me. I used to run these large IT projects, and I would have, like, the tech guys would put estimates together, and then my business analysts and my functional people, they would put estimates together. We would look at all this stuff. And the tech guys, I would say, okay, give me the variations and based on the scope and all this other stuff. And they would come to me and they would say, Annie, okay, got it. This is what we need to do. And I said, I'd look at them and I'd say, Ed and Drew, I love these guys. I'd say, how much is that going to cost me? $2 million. $2 million? So I'm looking at these iterations, variations that they've got here, and I'm just like, yeah, this is the best solution. So, I'm looking at these things, and I see you got some of these extra layers of protection. Let's just call it that for illustrative purposes, where, this is 100% accurate. It's 100% foolproof. It'll never fail. It'll never go down. It'll never do that. I said, but if we take these things out, these couple right here, that drops like what? $1 million? Right. So let me get this straight. For $1 million, I could get like 90+%, but not 100. Right. Right. Who deals with tech guys like this? Right? Like, I understand that last incremental few percent is worth twice as much and costs twice as much, except I want to look at this from the other vantage point. The irreplaceable factor related to you, the last 10% is probably worth more than twice as much. Okay? And but I'll be specific here so this registers. I was trying to think of how to illustrate this in my life, and when I decided to become a trainer in this capacity, believe this or not, in 2015, I knew absolutely, I'm not exaggerating for effect, absolutely zero. I mean zero. I probably knew less than zero, if that was possible, about creating online products and marketing them to a consumer. I was a business-to-business consultant, recruiter. I'd always done business-to-business sales, hand-to-hand combat. I didn't know anything about social and online marketing and email marketing and bringing a product to life to a consumer. Zero. So what did I do? I started to study and I started to learn the mechanics of how to do that. And in the first year, let's just say year 1, from 2015 to 2016, probably middle of the year, I probably learned 90% of what I needed to know. Okay? Since 2016 to today, 2023, these next 7 years, I've been working on learning the remaining 10%. All the little incremental things that make my ability to sell double and triple and quintuple and so on and go up exponentially because of all the time I've spent in the last 7 years chipping away at the remaining 10% of what I need to know. Now, I'll never get to 100 because we never will, because things change. It's like an asymptotic line, right? You never get there. But think about that, right? The 29-year-old career coach who spent 5 years working in HR, who decides she wants to be a career coach, could come to my site, copy all my templates, watch all my videos, package it up, put her little stamp on it, go and teach you, and she probably can give you 90% of the base instruction that you need. Except that all of the other experiences that needed to be drawn upon for all the other variations and permutations and what happens, what's in it's an executive who's trying to do this, or a stay-at-home parent who's trying to return, who lives in Trinidad, or what about Central Europe, or what about when there's these combinations of problems, or what about when the market's doing this, or the market's doing this, or it's in that industry or this industry, or what resonates in media versus construction, and all of the other stuff that it's taken me so long to learn, that so at the moment you need it, I can give that to you, is worth way more. But like, think about it this way. You could take my resume template and somebody can say to you, well, here, just fill this in, and here's a template, and put a summary and some achievements and list your experience, right? 90%. Except that I would tell you the reason you want to have this is because of this. And the reason this goes on the left and that goes on the right is because of this. And the reason you want to say this first and that second is because of this, that, and the other thing. I'm not teaching you how to write a resume. I'm teaching you how to market and sell you. Those are a completely different host of skill sets. But going back to the first thing when you talk about range of skills, it's the combination and understanding of how the other things that contribute to you writing. I'm not teaching you how to write a resume, right? I'm giving you instruction how to put words on a paper in a format that is a selling document. Right, is a different skill set that takes time to learn, and you can't learn that by copying my template, right? Kind of thing. Do you guys, you get what I'm saying? So with you, remember the last 10 is percent. There are so many people out in the market and in the world that can give me 90% of what I need. Except that if you are the person that could give me the last 10, I would pay double or triple for you. I would, and I would never let you go, because you become irreplaceable, because the last 10% takes me 7 years to teach you. The first 90% takes you, right? What's the learning curve? What's the learning curve look like? Except it's a slow curve, right? Or it's a pop and then slow and then up. So think about this, right? This is a big, big deal. The last 10% is worth way more. Okay, the last 10%. So you're probably wondering, Andy, well, how am I going to do the last 10%? Figure out what the hell it is, right? Okay, I got the meat. Now, how do I get all the other stuff, the finer details? What are all the incremental experiences, skill sets, variations, and things that get the finer skills and build those too? And a lot of this will come as a byproduct of understanding what those capabilities are. Writing a resume is not about copying a template from any career coach. It's what sells me best. That's a selling skill. If my job was a resume writer, the best resume writers would know how to sell, how to market, how to do all that other stuff. Right? So that the inside of your resume does all those other things, right? So you need to figure out what are the other skill sets that make the end product of what I do, whether that's a product that you're building or a service you're providing or whatever it is that you're doing, that much better. Okay, now, before we wrap it, I'm right on time, 43 minutes in, I want to show you the gift that you can take. So anybody who's watching this, whether you're here with me live or on the recording, that leadership skill building roadmap, this is what I want to gift you. So I have this booklet, and the link will be in the description. It's free. Or Kara will put it in the chat. It's pinned in the chat. And this is my how I look at developing skills that is a universal career syllabus for any of you. Okay, and I teach you. This is the write-up. This is the booklet. But basically, there's an evolutionary process into the the skill sets that you would build as you evolve in your career. And while I talk about being a producer, communicator, influencer, developer, and visionary, this is truly an overlay irrespective of what your job is. And I'm going to cite for you in this booklet which skill sets to build to evolve you through your career. So it just, without going into all of this stuff, because I want you to take the free gift, but the bottom layer are the skill sets that are required in order to manage yourself efficiently, become organized, produce, develop great habits, remain focused, be self-aware, and so on, because they take the longest to build, but they have the greatest ROI once you build them, and they are enablers for every subsequent tier that you climb. Anyway, I go through all this. I explain what all this is. You can look at my breakdown. There are 46 different kind of skill sets that I recommend at each of these levels. And then what you can do is you want to build this. There's an assessment, okay? You basically go through and can kind of rate yourself and get a quantitative and qualitative view of how you score in each section. Sorry, I don't mean to make you dizzy, but you get the idea. And then what you can do is you can build an action plan. So if you are in my leadership coaching program, I have steps for you. So there's a bunch of steps for you. And if you are not in my leadership coaching program, don't you fret, because I have a whole 9-step or 10-step process for you. So you can go in and grab this. And then what you can do is if you want to track your progress, there are ways to think through and rate yourself on how effectively you handle each of these areas. You can review if this is truly relevant to me, how relevant, and if there's any kind of timing consideration. So for an example, you might be good at certain things, but maybe you want to brush up on your presentation skills because you have a business case presentation that you need to give in May, right? You can consider the timing of when you want to focus on building particular skills. And you can go through this, and I've included this worksheet for all the different tier levels. And then the other thing is if you are a member of my leadership coaching program, these are all of the lessons that are already included in the library. So even if you're not a member, you can get an idea of what's included in my leadership library. It's really sweet. As you can see, I've done a lot of lessons. They're all in the library. But this is a free booklet to get you started on identifying the right skill sets, and it will become much more clear when you have the booklet. If I'm a seller, what kind of skills should I be working on? And you'll start to see where those apply, and obviously your communication and your influencing skills are going to be vital. But if you're not organized in order and don't understand certain things at the producer level, you're not going to be as effective. So anyway, so I give that booklet away for free. You're all welcome to take it. That's really all I wanted to say today, other than if you are getting value out of this, please click the like button. I hope you are subscribed to the station, and I do want to do a quick recap of the 5 areas that I want you to focus on, and in order. So number 1, make sure you are looking at your skill set and the range of additional skills that are required to do your job at the highest level. So that's number 1. Number 2, uniqueness, right? Experience, the layers that go with your experience, and then the 5 Itys, right? The 4 abilities and your personality, right? Make sure that that's in order. Are you actually cranking outputs? Make sure to register and join me for the Productivity Mini Camp, the free week, March 27th through March 30th, if you're watching this in time. And then how you respond to failure, and get to that last 10. Get to that last 10%. I think you will it'll really make a difference. All right, hope you enjoyed that. If you're here with me live, we're going to the Q&A. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.